The stars looked peaceful through the window of the cargo ship, Iron Phoenix, but Captain Kim Dae-ho knew something was wrong. His hands moved slowly over the control panel, checking every system twice. The ship was big and heavy, carrying medical supplies to the outer colonies where people needed medicine and equipment to survive. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines. Kim Dae-ho had been flying ships for 20 years, and he could feel when danger was near. His crew was small, but they were good people who trusted him with their lives. The Iron Phoenix was not a warship. It was built to carry things, not to fight, but today that might change navigation. Officer Park So-min sat at her station watching the scanner. Her young face was serious as she studied the green dots on her screen. She had joined the crew only 6 months ago, but she was smart and learned fast. Her fingers moved over the controls, checking their position in space. They were in the Kappa sector, far from any military ships or space stations. Chief Engineer Lee Jun-ho was down in the engine room like always. He loved the big machines that made the ship fly through space. He could fix anything and make old equipment work like new. The engines were running smooth, and the jump drive was ready to take them to hyperspace if they needed to escape quickly. Communications. Officer Choi Min-seo was the youngest crew member at only 25 years old. This was her first trip to the deep space colonies, and she was excited to see new worlds. Her job was to talk to other ships and listen for any messages that might be important. She kept her radio open to all the emergency channels. Weapons Officer Han Seung-woo sat ready at his station, even though their ship only had basic weapons for protection against space pirates. The Iron Phoenix had mining lasers that could cut through asteroids and some small defensive guns, but nothing like a real warship would have. Still, Seung-woo kept everything ready just in case. Medical Officer Dr. Yoon Hae-jin was checking on the passengers in the lower decks. There were 53 people on board, including whole families moving to start new lives on the colony worlds. Some were doctors and teachers, others were farmers and engineers. All of them trusted the crew to get them safely to their new homes. The warning came suddenly, and without any sound, the scanner screen lit up with red dots appearing from behind the large asteroids. Park So-min stared at the display, not believing what she was seeing. 6 ships had been hiding in the asteroid field, waiting for them to pass. These were not human ships. The design was all wrong, with sharp edges and strange curves that looked like giant insects. The ships were painted dark green and black with glowing red lights that looked like angry eyes. Each ship was twice the size of the Iron Phoenix and built for fighting. Kim Dae-ho felt his heart start beating faster, but his voice stayed calm when he spoke to his crew. This was not the time to panic. His crew needed him to be strong and make the right choices. Park So-min checked her computer and found the ship designs in their database. Her face went pale as she read the information. These were Vulcan raiders, some of the most dangerous pirates in this part of the galaxy. The Vulcans were known for attacking cargo ships and taking everything valuable. They rarely left any survivors to tell what happened. The Vulcan ships moved closer, surrounding the Iron Phoenix like hungry wolves circling their prey. Their weapons were already charging with a green glow that meant death for anyone who got in their way. The Iron Phoenix was trapped with no way to run or hide. Lee Jun-ho voice came over the communication system from the engine room, sounding worried. They had hit the ship with some kind of electromagnetic pulse that damaged the jump drive. The Iron Phoenix could not escape to hyperspace and would have to fight or surrender. The lead Vulcan ship sent a message in broken human language. The alien voice was harsh and full of threats. Surrender, cargo ship. Give supplies or we destroy you slowly. You have 5 minutes to decide. The message repeated 3 times too. Make sure the humans understood. Kim Dae-ho looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. Min-seo looked scared but determined. Seung-woo was checking his weapons. Park So-min was trying to find any way to escape. Dr. Hae-jin appeared on the communication screen from the medical bay, ready to help. However, the captain knew what the Vulcans wanted. The medical supplies in their cargo hold were worth millions of credits on the black market, but those supplies were meant for sick people on the colony worlds who would die without them. Kim Dae-ho had delivered medicine before, and he had seen what happened when it did not arrive on time. The Vulcans thought this would be easy. They saw a cargo ship with light weapons and a small crew. They expected the humans to give up without a fight. Most aliens in the galaxy believed humans were weak. Traders who cared more about money than fighting, but the Velkans had made a big mistake. They did not know about human history. They did not know that humans had survived ice ages and wars and had fought their way from caves to the stars. They did not know what happened when humans were cornered with no way out. Kim Dae-ho activated the ship communication system, so everyone on board could hear him. All crew, this is your captain. We have two choices: surrender and probably die, or fight back with everything we have. I will not lie to you. Our chances are not good, but humans do not go quietly into the dark. In the engine room, Junho heard the captain words and started working faster. He began moving power from the life support systems to the weapons. His team of engineers worked beside him, knowing they were about to try something very dangerous. If we are going down, we are taking some of them with us, he said to himself. Dr. Hejin left her medical station and went to check on the passengers. She moved through the ship telling people to stay calm and find safe places to hide. There were children on board and old people who had never seen space combat before, but she also saw the look in their eyes, the same look that was appearing on every human face. The Velkan ships moved even closer, their weapons glowing brighter. The 5 minutes were almost up and their leader was getting ready to attack. The aliens were confident this would be over quickly. They would take the cargo and destroy the ship, leaving no witnesses. But something was changing on the bridge of the Iron Phoenix. Kim Dae-ho felt it first, then it spread to his crew. It was an old feeling that came from deep inside, something that had helped humans survive when bigger, stronger creatures wanted to kill them. Feeling was anger, but more than that, it was the refusal to give up. It was the knowledge that sometimes the only choice was to fight even when fighting seemed impossible. It was the beast that slept inside every human, waiting for the moment when it was needed most. Sung-woo, target their lead ship weapon systems, Kim Dae-ho ordered Junho. Give me everything the engines have. So-min, plot a ramming courser that is suicide, So-min said, looking at her captain with wide eyes. No. Kim Dae-ho replied with a cold smile on his face that is human. The Iron Phoenix began to turn toward the enemy ships. The Velkans were about to learn that attacking a human cargo ship was not simple at all. They were about to discover what happened when humans stopped being civilized and remembered they were predators. The silence on the bridge felt heavy, like the moment before thunder strikes. Kim Dae-ho stood at his captain chair, looking at the 6 Velkan ships that surrounded them like hungry sharks. The red lights on their hulls pulsed with evil intent, and their weapons were charging for the final attack. Park So-min fingers flew over her navigation controls, searching for any possible escape route. Her screen showed nothing but enemy ships and empty space. The asteroid field that had hidden the Velkans now blocked any chance of running away. She looked up at her captain with worry in her young eyes. Captain, incoming transmission from the colony ship. New So-min SEO announced from her communication station. They are 3 hours away but cannot reach us in time to help. Her voice was steady, but Kim Dae-ho could hear the fear underneath. 3 hours might as well be 3 years when facing 6 warships. The Iron Phoenix would be space dust long before any help arrived. Kim Dae-ho felt the weight of 53 lives depending on his next decision. The families in the lower decks trusted him to keep them safe. The captain activated the ship internal communication system so everyone could hear his words. All crew, this is your captain. We have 2 choices here today. We can surrender and likely die, or we can fight back with everything we have. I will not lie to you about our situation. Our chances are very small. But humans do not go quietly into the dark. We never have, and we never will. Down in the engine room, Lee Junho heard those words and something changed inside him. He had been scared, but now he felt something else burning in his chest. It was anger at these aliens, who thought they could just take what they wanted from humans. His hands moved over the control panels with new purpose. Junho began rerouting power from the life support systems to the weapons. The air would get thin, and the lights would dim, but they needed every bit of energy for fighting. His team of engineers worked beside him without being asked. They all understood what was happening. If we are going down, we are taking some of them with us. Junho muttered to himself as he worked. His fingers danced over the controls, moving power from the artificial gravity system to the shield generators. The ship would feel strange to walk in, but they might survive a few more hits. Dr. Yoon-haejin moved through the passenger areas, checking on the civilians. There were children hiding behind their parents and old people who had lived through wars on Earth before. She saw fear in their eyes, but also something else. She saw the same stubborn refusal to give up that had carried humans to the stars. The doctor armed herself and her medical staff with emergency tools and anything else that could be used as weapons. If the Vulcans managed to board the ship, they would find out what human determination looked like up close. She had taken an oath to save lives, but sometimes saving lives meant taking them first. Back on the bridge, the Vulcan ships moved closer like predators sensing victory. Their leader broadcast another message in his harsh alien voice. Time is up, humans. Your 5 minutes are over. Prepare to be boarded and your cargo taken. We will be merciful if you do not resist. Kim Dae-ho looked at his crew and saw the same expression on every face. It was the look of cornered animals who suddenly remembered they had claws and teeth. It was the look that had helped humans survive when bigger, stronger creatures wanted to eat them. It was the look of the beast waking up. The captain had read about this feeling in the old military histories when human soldiers were trapped with no way out. Something ancient and powerful stirred inside them. They stopped thinking like civilized people and started thinking like the predators their ancestors had been. Singwoo, check all weapon systems, Kim Dae-ho ordered. Target their lead ship weapon arrays first. We need to blind them before they can coordinate their attack. His weapons officer nodded and began charging the mining lasers. They were not built for fighting, but they could cut through asteroid rock and alien metal. Was not much differential. Min plot intercept courses for ramming attacks. Kim Dae-ho continued. If we are going to die, we will take as many of them with us as possible. The young navigation officer's hands shook slightly as she entered the commands, but her voice was firm when she replied. Course plotted and ready, Captain. The Iron Phoenix suddenly lurched forward, accelerating directly toward the Vulcan formation. The enemy ships were caught completely off guard. Their sensors showed it was just a cargo vessel with minimal weapons, but the humans were acting like a pack of wolves instead of frightened sheep. The first blast from Sungwoo mining lasers struck the lead Vulcan ship right in its sensor array. Sparks flew as alien electronics died and the enemy ship was temporarily blinded. The second laser shot hit another ship communication dish, cutting off its ability to coordinate with the other's direct hits on 3 ships. Captain Sungwoo reported with grim satisfaction. The aliens had expected easy prey, but humans were full of surprises. Their cargo ship was fighting like a battleship, and the crew was acting like trained warriors in the engine room. Jun-ho had been thinking about their cargo loading system. The magnetic cranes that move supply containers were powerful enough to lift tons of material. What if he could turn them into weapons instead of tools? His hands moved over the controls with new purpose. Captain, I have an idea. Jun-ho's voice came over the communication system. I have rigged the magnetic cranes to launch our supply containers like missiles. They are not explosive, but at this speed they will punch through their hulls like bullets. The first container shot out of the cargo bay and smashed into a Vulcan ship wing. The alien metal crumpled like paper under the impact. The ship spun out of control, trailing atmosphere and debris. The second container hit another enemy vessel right in the bridge section. Minesio intercepted Vulcan communications and translated quickly. They are panicking, sir. They are calling us the Mad Ones and asking their home fleet for immediate reinforcements. The aliens had expected to fight traitors, not warriors. The Vulcans tried to pull back and regroup, but Kim Dae-ho was not finished with them yet. They had wanted to hunt humans thinking they were easy prey. Now they were learning what happened when the prey fought back. Chase them. So-min, Kim Dae-ho ordered. They started this fight, but we are going to finish it. The Iron Phoenix pursued the retreating alien ships through the asteroid field using the floating rocks as both cover and weapon. So-min piloting skills had been learned in the dangerous shipping lanes around Earth, where one mistake meant death. She kept the Iron Phoenix alive as enemy fire lit up the space around them. The ship danced between asteroids like it was built for combat instead of cargo. Dr. Hai-jin treated the first wounded crew members while monitoring the battle through the ship internal cameras. Somehow, against all odds, they were still alive and still fighting. The beast inside humanity had fully awakened, and it was hungry for alien blood. The Vulcans were starting to understand they had made a terrible mistake. This was not going to be a simple raid anymore. This was going to be a fight to the death against creatures who refused to surrender no matter what the odds. The last Vulcan ship hung in space like a wounded animal backed into a corner. Its hull was scarred with blast marks and atmosphere leaked from dozens of holes. But the alien captain was not ready to surrender. His ship began glowing with the deadly light of an overloading reactor. Kim Dae-ho recognized the signs immediately. The enemy was preparing to self-destruct and take the Iron Phoenix with him. It was a coward way to fight, but desperate pirates had no honor left, the human captain felt. Cold anger rise in his chest. All hands, brace for impact, Kim Dae-ho shouted over the ship communication system. The crew grabbed onto anything solid as the Iron Phoenix accelerated toward the enemy. Vessel So-min hands were steady on the controls, even though she knew they might all die in the next few seconds. But the young navigation officer had learned something important during this battle. She had learned that humans were full of surprises and never did what their enemies expected at the last possible moment. She rolled the Iron Phoenix sideways, letting the Vulcan ship pass by like a missed punch. Sung-woo was ready with the weapons. He fired everything they had left directly into the enemy ship's engine section. The mining lasers cut through alien metal like a hot knife through butter. The Vulcan vessel tumbled away, trailing fire and debris. The enemy ship's self-destruct system failed when its power core was destroyed. Instead of a glorious death, the alien captain found himself floating helplessly in a dead ship. His threats and curses meant nothing now because he had no weapons left to back them up. Captain, we have won, Mina Co announced from her communication station. All enemy vessels are destroyed or disabled. I am not reading any more threats on the scanner. Her young voice was filled with amazement at what they had accomplished. Kim Dae-ho looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They were dirty and tired from the fight, but their eyes were bright with victory. They had started this day as simple cargo haulers, but they had become warriors when they needed to. Beatty space around them was filled with floating wreckage from 6 Vulcan warships. The debris field stretched for kilometers in every direction. Like a graveyard of alien ambition, each piece of twisted metal was proof that humans fought back. When Cornera Junho voice came over the communication system from the engine room, sounding exhausted but proud. Captain, the engines are still running, but just barely. We pushed everything past the breaking point, but somehow it all held together. Status report, Kim Dae-ho ordered as he sat back in his captain chair. For the first time since the battle began, his body ached from the tension, but his mind was clear. The beast inside him was satisfied with the hunt. 6 Vulcan ships destroyed or disabled, Sung-woo reported with satisfaction in his voice. We used every weapon we had and invented some new ones. No human casualties reported the weapons. Officer smiled as he looked at his empty ammunition counters. Dr. Hyjin appeared on the communication screen from the medical bay, looking tired but relieved. I have treated 15 crew members for minor injuries, but nothing serious. The passengers are shaken but unharmed. They are asking how we managed to win. The answer was simple but also complicated. They had won because they were human, and humans did not give up when things looked hopeless. They had won because they could turn anything into a weapon when they needed to. They had won because they refused to let innocent people suffer. So-min was already checking their position and plotting a course to the nearest space station. We need repairs, Captain. The jump drive is completely dead and the hull has stress fractures in 12 places, but we can make it to Kepler Station on impulse powerment. SEO monitored the radio frequencies, listening for any sign of more enemies. Captain, I am picking up Vulcan fleet communications. They are pulling back from this entire sector. The word is spreading that humans are too dangerous to attack. The story would grow in the telling, as all good stories did. By the time it reached the outer colonies, the Iron Phoenix would have fought off 20 enemy ships instead of 6. The crew would become legends, and other pirates would think twice before attacking human vessels. Kim Dae-ho knew that this battle would change things in this part of the galaxy. The aliens had learned that humans were not the easy targets they appeared to be. They had learned that cornering a human ship was like cornering a wild animal that had evolved to be a perfect killer. 3 hours later, the colony ship New Seoul arrived at the battle site, expecting to find wreckage and bodies. Instead, they found the Iron Phoenix floating proudly among the debris of its enemies. The cargo ship looked like it had been through hell, but it was still intact. Captain Kim, this is Admiral Park Jinwoo of the Colonial Defense Force. Came the transmission. We are reading multiple enemy vessels destroyed. What in the name of Earth happened here? They made the mistake of threatening humans. Admiral Kim Dae-ho replied simply, we showed them what happens when you corner Something that was born to hunt the Admiral was quiet for a long moment as his sensors scanned the battlefield. The amount of destruction was hard to believe a single cargo ship had done this to 6 military vessels it would take hours to catalog. All the wreckage, Captain Kim. I think you and your crew have some explaining to do, Admiral Pack said finally. The Colonial Defense Force is going to want a full report on your tactics. We might need to update our training programs, Kim Dae-ho smiled. At that, the military had always thought they were the only ones who knew how to fight, but today a bunch of cargo haulers had shown them something new. They had shown them what happened when humans stopped being civilized and remembered they were predators. The Iron Phoenix limped toward the nearest repair station carrying its cargo of medical supplies and its crew of accidental heroes. The passengers would reach their new homes safely and the medicine would save lives on the colony worlds, but more importantly, the galaxy had learned a lesson about humanity that would not be forgotten. The lesson was simple, but powerful humans were not prey. They were apex predators, and anyone who forgot that fact did so at their own risk. The hunt was over, but the legend was just beginning. Stories would be told in alien bars and pirate dens about the cargo ship that fought like a battleship. The name Iron Phoenix would become synonymous with human determination and the refusal to surrender. Kim Dae-ho looked out at the stars and felt satisfaction deep in his bones. They had won not through superior technology or overwhelming firepower, but through the thing that made humans special. They had won through the refusal to give up even when giving up seemed like the only choice. The beast inside humanity had awakened and the galaxy would never be the Samev. The Iron Phoenix raced through space like an angry predator chasing its prey. The Vulcan ships tried to spread out and use their superior numbers, but they had never faced humans who refused to die quietly. Kim Dae-ho stood on his bridge watching the enemy formation break apart as fear replaced their confidence. 2 Vulcan ships were already damaged and spinning helplessly in space, but 4 remained, and they were regrouping for another attack the aliens thought they could still win with their better weapons and armor. They did not understand that humans fought with more than just technologies. Min hands moved over her controls like a master musician playing a deadly song. She guided the Iron Phoenix between floating asteroids using each rock as cover from enemy fire. Her young face was set in concentration as laser blasts lit up the darkness around them. The ship shook as an enemy blast hit their rear shields, but the barrier held. Junho had done good work moving power from life support to defense. The air was getting thin and the gravity felt weak, but they were still alive and still fighting. Eun-woo fired their mining lasers again, aiming not for the enemy hulls but for their weapon systems. Alien metal melted under the intense heat as laser arrays died in showers of sparks. 3 more Vulcan guns went silent, leaving gaps in their formation. Captain, I am reading massive damage to the enemy-led ship, Min Seo reported from her station. Their communications are breaking down and they are calling for retreat orders. The young officer smiled grimly as she listened to the alien panic, but the Vulcans were not ready to give up yet. They had lost face by being beaten by a simple cargo ship, and their pride demanded revenge. The 4 remaining vessels formed a new attack formation trying to surround the Iron Phoenix from different angles. Kim Dae-ho watched the enemy movement on his tactical display and felt the ancient human instinct for war rising in his chest. His ancestors had fought with spears and swords against creatures with bigger teeth and claws. They had won by being smarter and more determined than their enemies. Junho, I need more speed from the engines, Kim Dae-ho ordered into his communication system. Can you give me emergency power? I am already pushing everything past the safety limits, Captain, but I have another idea. The engineer voice was filled with dangerous excitement. What if we use our damaged jump drive as a weapon? I can make it create a space distortion that will tear their ships apart. Do it, Kim Dae-ho replied without hesitation. Down in the engine room, Junho worked with desperate speed to turn their escape system into an instrument of destruction. The jump drive was damaged, but it still had one good burst left in it. Instead of taking them to safety, it would take them into the middle of the enemy formation. The Iron Phoenix suddenly vanished from where it had been and appeared directly behind the Vulcan ships. The alien sensors screamed warnings, but it was too late for them to react. Seung-woo fired everything they had at point Blank range into the unprotected rear of the enemy vessels. One Velkin ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light and metal. Debris. Another lost its main weapons and began leaking atmosphere through holes in its hull. The remaining two ships tried to turn around, but they were big and slow compared to the human Vesselso, and was already ahead of them, plotting new intercept courses that used the gravity of nearby asteroids to increase their speed. The Iron Phoenix moved like a hunter that had found the scent of wounded prey. The roles had completely reversed from the beginning of the fight they are broadcasting on. All emergency frequencies, Min SEO reported with excitement in her voice. They are warning other Velkin fleets to avoid human ships. They are calling us the Death Dealers, and the ones who cannot be broken. Dr. Hajin moved through the ship treating injured crew members while the battle raged outside. She had patients with cuts from flying debris and burns from electrical fires, but nobody had died yet. Somehow they were winning against impossible odds. The medical officer stopped at a viewing port and looked out at the wreckage of enemy ships floating in space. She thought about all the innocent people those pirates had killed in other attacks. Now they were learning what happened when they picked the wrong victims back on the bridge. Kim Dae-ho felt something he had never experienced before in 20 years of flying cargo ships. He felt like a warrior from the old days when humans had conquered their homeworld. Through strength and cunning, the beast inside him was fully awake, and it wanted alien blood. The two remaining Velkin ships were trying to escape now, but they were damaged and slow. Their weapons were mostly destroyed, and their commanders were making desperate calls for help that would never come. The Iron Phoenix, closed in for the kill, Sang-woo had found a new use for their emergency flare system. The bright lights designed to signal distress could be turned into blinding weapons that overloaded alien visual sensors. When the flares exploded near the enemy ships, their pilots were temporarily blinded, so men used that moment to bring them alongside the nearest Velkin vessel. The two ships were so close that crew members could see each other through the viewing ports. The aliens looked terrified as they stared at the humans who had refused to. Jin-ho had one more surprise ready in the engine room. He had rigged their waste disposal system to shoot garbage and metal scraps at high velocity. It was not elegant, but it worked. The enemy ship hull was peppered with holes as human trash became deadly projectiles. The damaged Velkin ship tried to ram the Iron Phoenix in a last desperate attack, but Somin was ready for them. She rolled their ship sideways at the last second, letting the enemy vessel pass harmlessly by while Sung-woo fired directly into its exposed engines. The alien ship tumbled away powerless and defeated. Its crew sent a surrender signal, but Kim Dae-ho was not in a merciful mood. These pirates had threatened his passengers and tried to steal medicine from sick colonists. They deserved no mercy. One Velkin ship remained, and its captain was broadcasting threats and curses in his harsh alien language. He promised revenge and called the humans cowards for using tricks instead of fighting honorably, but his words were empty because his ship was alone and surrounded. The Iron Phoenix had gone from being the hunted to being the hunter. The cargo ship had become a predator, and the alien pirates were now the prey. The battle was almost over, but the most dangerous moment was still coming. Desperate enemies were the most dangerous kind and the last. Velkin captain had nothing left to lose. He began charging his ship's self-destruct system, planning to take the humans with him into death. If he could not win, he would make sure nobody did. Kim Dae-ho saw the energy readings on his scanner and knew what the alien was planning. The final enemy was going to try to destroy both ships in one last act of spite, but humans had been dealing with desperate enemies for thousands of years. All crew prepare for ramming speed. Kim Dae-ho announced, "This ends now." The debris field around the Iron Phoenix told the story of a battle that should never have been won. A cargo ship with mining lasers had destroyed 6 military vessels. Through pure human stubbornness and creativity, the floating wreckage caught the light from the nearby star like scattered diamonds. Kim Dae-ho stood on his bridge looking at the tactical display that showed no more enemy contacts. His crew was exhausted but alive, and that was more than anyone had expected. When the Velkin ships first appeared, the captain felt the battle rage slowly leaving his system, but the fight was not completely over yet. One of the damaged Velkin ships was still sending out distress signals, and Kim Dae-ho knew that other pirates might come. Looking for their missing friends, the Iron Phoenix needed to get moving before more enemies arrived, Captain. We have a problem, Somin announced from her navigation station. The damaged Vulcan ship is broadcasting our position to anyone who will. Listen, they are calling for revenge against the human vessel that destroyed their raid. Fleetman SEO was monitoring all the alien communication frequencies, and her face looked worried. Captain, I am picking up responses to their distress call. At least 3 more Vulcan squadrons are heading this way. They will be here in 6 hours. 6 hours was not enough time to reach safety with their damaged engines and dead jump drive. The Iron Phoenix was like a wounded animal trying to escape from a pack of hungry wolves. Kim Dae-ho felt the cold touch of fear, but pushed it away. Jun, oh, I need a miracle from those engines. Kim Dae-ho called down to the engine room. Can you give me enough power to outrun pursuit? I can try, Captain, but the engines are held together with spare parts and prayer right now. If I push them any harder, they might explode. The engineer voice was strained with exhaustion. Dr. Jin appeared on the communication screen looking determined. Captain, the passengers are asking if they can help fight. They say they did not come this far just to die to alien pirates. Some of them are military veterans from Earth. Kim Dae-ho thought about that for a moment. Civilian passengers were not supposed to fight, but these were not normal circumstances. The people in the lower decks had families and dreams that were worth protecting. Tell them to stay ready, Doctor, but keep them away from the fighting areas. Kim Dae-ho decided if more enemies come, we might need every able body we can get. The captain looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They had already done the impossible once, but doing it again might be asking too much. Their weapons were nearly empty, and their ship was barely holding together. Sung was checking his weapon systems and shaking his head. Captain, we have maybe enough power for one more fight. The mining lasers are overheated and half our defensive systems are offline. That was when Kim Dae-ho made a decision that would become part of human legend. He decided that running away was not good enough. The Vulcans had started this fight by threatening innocent people, and they needed to learn that actions had consequences. Change of plans. Kim Dae-ho announced to his crew, we are not running away from the reinforcements. We are going to wait for them and finish what we started. Captain, that is suicide. So-min protested, looking at her captain like he had lost his mind. We barely survived against 6 ships. How can we fight against more? Because we are human. Kim Dae-ho replied with a cold smile. And humans do not let pirates think they can attack our people without paying a price. The crew stared at their captain in amazement. But then something changed in their expressions. The same look that had helped them win the first battle began to return to their eyes. It was the look of predators who had tasted blood and wanted more. Junho began working on a new plan in the engine room. If they were going to fight again, he needed to find more ways to turn their cargo ship into a weapon. He started looking at every system on the Iron Phoenix with fresh eyes. The artificial gravity generators could be turned into weapons by creating gravity wells that would crush enemy ships. The water recycling system could be used to create ice projectiles that would punch through alien hulls. The possibilities were endless. Min plotted courses that would use the asteroid field to their advantage. She found places where they could hide and ambush the enemy ships as they arrived. The young officer had learned that space combat was more about thinking than shooting. Min SEO sent false distress signals to confuse the incoming enemies. She made it sound like the Iron Phoenix was badly damaged and helpless. The aliens would expect to find easy prey instead of a ship full of angry humans. Dara Heijin organized the passengers into damage control teams and emergency medical units. She gave them crash courses in basic repairs and first aid. The civilians were scared but determined to defend their new home. Sung-woo found creative new ways to use their remaining weapons. The mining lasers could be overloaded to create single powerful shots instead of continuous beams. The defensive guns could fire improvised ammunition made from cargo containers. 3 hours later, the first Vulcan reinforcement squadron dropped out of hyperspace expecting to find their friends celebrating victory over a human cargo ship. Instead, they found a debris field and one very angry Iron Phoenix waiting for them. The enemy ships were bigger and newer than the first group, but they made the same mistake their predecessors had made. They underestimated what humans could do when pushed into a corner. Kim Dae-ho opened a communication channel to the alien ships and spoke in a voice like ice. You came looking for the ship that destroyed your friends. Congratulations, you found us. The Vulcan commander responded with threats and demands for surrender, but Kim Dae-ho was not interested in talking anymore. The time for words was over, and the time for action had begun. All crew battle stations, Kim Dae-ho announced. Let them see what happens when they mess with human cargo ships. The Iron Phoenix accelerated toward the enemy formation, like a missile aimed at the heart of alien arrogance. The cargo ship had become something new during the first battle, and now it was ready to prove that the victory had not been just luck. Jin-ho had turned their entire cargo bay into a giant weapon. The magnetic systems that once moved supply containers now launched improvised projectiles at incredible speeds. Every piece of metal on the ship had become ammunition. So Min guided them through the asteroid field using the floating rocks as both shields and weapons. Her piloting skills had grown during the first battle, and now she flew like someone born in space instead of on a planet. The second battle would be even more vicious than the first, because now the humans knew they could win. They had tasted victory and found they liked the flavor. The beast inside them was fully awake and hungry for more alien blood. The Vulcans were about to learn that attacking human ships was not just dangerous, it was fatal. They were about to discover that some prey fought back with teeth and claws and refused to be anyone's dinner. The second battle lasted only 30 minutes, but it became the most famous space fight in human history. The Iron Phoenix moved through the enemy formation, like death itself, destroying ships with weapons that should not have existed. The cargo bay launcher threw metal debris at speeds that turned ordinary junk into armor-piercing bullets. Kim Dae-ho stood on his bridge watching 3 more Vulcan ships die in balls of fire and twisted metal. His crew worked with the smooth efficiency of natural-born killers, turning every system on their ship into an instrument of war. The beast inside humanity was fully unleashed now. So Min flew the Iron Phoenix through impossible maneuvers using the asteroid field like her personal playground. She spun the ship between floating rocks while Sungwoo fired the overloaded mining lasers at point-blank range. 2 more enemy vessels exploded when their reactors were breached. The last Vulcan ship tried to escape, but Jun-ho had rigged their gravity generators to create a localized space distortion. The enemy vessel was caught like a fly in honey, unable to move, while the Iron Phoenix closed in for the kill. No mercy was given because none had been asked for when the shooting stopped. The space around them looked like a ship graveyard. 12 Vulcan vessels floated dead or dying among the asteroids. The cargo ship Iron Phoenix hung in the center of the destruction, looking battered but proud. Captain, all enemy vessels destroyed or disabled. Min SCO reported from her communication station. I am monitoring their emergency frequencies, and they are calling us demons from the void of space. Kim Dae-ho smiled at that description. Demons was not a bad reputation for humans to have among the galaxy criminal population. If pirates feared them, then fewer innocent people would be attacked by alien raider status. Report on our ship. Kim Dae-ho ordered. The engines are running on emergency power only. Jun-ho reported from the engine room. We have maybe 4 hours of life support left, and the hull has stress fractures everywhere, but we are still alive. Captain Dr. Hae-jin. Medical report showed 20 injured crew members, but still no deaths. The passengers had helped with damage control, and several had asked to join the crew permanently after seeing what humans could accomplish when they worked together. 6 hours later, the Colonial Defense Force fleet arrived, expecting to find a massacre. Instead, they found the Iron Phoenix floating victoriously among the wreckage of 12 enemy warships. The cargo vessel looked like it had been through hell, but it was still intact and still defiant. Captain Kim, this is Admiral Park Jin-woo. Again came the transmission from the fleet flagship. I am looking at sensor readings that show you destroyed 2 complete Vulcan squadrons with a cargo ship. How is that possible? We showed them what happens when you threaten human civilians. Admiral Kim Dae-ho replied. We reminded them that humans do not make good prey animals. The admiral was quiet for a long time as his ships moved through the debris field, cataloging the destruction. One cargo ship had done this to military vessels designed for combat. It would change how the galaxy thought about human merchant ships. Captain, I am recommending you and your crew for the Colonial Medal of Valor. Admiral Pack said finally, your actions today have saved countless lives by showing pirates that human ships are not easy targets. The story of the Iron Phoenix spread through human space like wildfire. Within weeks, every cargo ship crew knew about the vessel that had fought like a battleship. The tale grew in the telling until Kim Dae-ho and his crew became larger-than-life heroes more. Importantly, the story spread through alien space as well. Pirate fleets began avoiding sectors where human ships operated. The Vulcans issued warnings to their raiders about the dangers of attacking human vessels. Other criminal organizations followed their example. Kim Dae-ho found himself famous throughout the galaxy, but he did not let it change him. He continued commanding cargo ships and delivering supplies to the colonies. The only difference was that now his ships carried small plaques that read, "Warning, this vessel is crewed by humans. Attack at your own risk." The crew of the Iron Phoenix became legends in their own time. Solmin was given her own ship to command and became known as one of the best combat pilots in human space. Junho revolutionized ship engineering by showing how any system could be turned into a weapon when necessary. Seung-woo started a training program for cargo ship crews, teaching them how to fight with mining equipment and improvised weapons. Dr. Hae-jin wrote new medical protocols for combat situations and became the leading expert on treating battle injuries in Spaceman SEO. Became the most requested communication officer in the merchant fleet because she could speak 17 alien languages and had learned to intercept enemy signals during combat. Her skills had saved countless lives by providing early warning of pirate attacks. Years passed, and the Battle of Kappa Sector became required study at every military academy. Human cadets learned how creativity and determination could overcome superior numbers and firepower. Alien historians wrote about it as the day humanity reminded the galaxy why they were apex predators. The Iron Phoenix itself was eventually retired and put in a museum on Earth. Millions of visitors came to see the cargo ship that had changed the balance of power in space. The plaques and displays told the story of ordinary humans doing extraordinary things when pushed to their limits, but the real legacy was not the ship or the museum displays. The real legacy was the knowledge that spread through the galaxy about what humans were capable of when cornered. Pirates learned to avoid human vessels completely because the risk was too great. Other alien species began to see humans differently too. They stopped thinking of them as weak traders and started recognizing them as the dangerous predators they had always been. The reputation spread to every corner of known space. Kim Dae-ho retired eventually, but his legend lived on. Every time a pirate fleet considered attacking a human ship, they remembered the story of the Iron Phoenix. They remembered what happened when 6 warships attacked one cargo vessel and lost. The captain spent his final years on a peaceful colony world, tending a small garden and writing his memoirs. But sometimes at night he would look up at the stars and remember the feeling of hunting alien pirates through asteroid fields. Young people would visit him asking for stories about the battle, and he would tell them the truth. It was not superior technology or overwhelming firepower that had won the day. It was the human spirit that refused to give up, even when giving up seemed logical. The galaxy had learned an important lesson about humanity that day. They had learned that humans were not just clever tool users or successful traders. They were predators who had evolved on a world full of things that wanted to kill them. Most of the time humans were content to be peaceful and civilized, but when threatened they could become something far more dangerous than any natural predator. The beast slept most of the time, but it never went away completely. The story of the Iron Phoenix became more than just a tale of one battle. It became a symbol of what made humans special in a galaxy full of alien species. It showed that sometimes the most ordinary people could do the most extraordinary things. Decades later, when new alien species made contact with humanity, they were always told the story of the cargo ship that fought 12 warships and won. It was a gentle warning wrapped in an exciting tale. The message was simple but clear. Humans preferred peace and trade, but they were perfectly capable of war when necessary. They had conquered their homeworld, not through luck, but through the refusal to surrender even when facing impossible odds. The Iron Phoenix had started its final voyage as a simple cargo hauler carrying medical supplies to sick colonists. It had ended that voyage as a legend that would outlive everyone who sailed on her. The crew had become heroes without trying, and somewhere in the dark between the stars, pirate fleets still told stories about the human ship that had refused to die. They warned each other about attacking vessels with human crews because humans fought back like the predators they had always been. The galaxy was a safer place for innocent travelers because of what happened in the Kappa sector. That day, the beast inside humanity had awakened just long enough to remind everyone why humans had survived and thrived among the stars.